And welcome to the Oddity Archive, the show that is a perpetual work in progress. Now, as longtime viewers know, I'm always trying to up the archive's game in terms of what gear I use to inflict my deep hurting upon you lovely folks. And starting back at the beginning of last season, I had been threatening to replace not only my old Newmark turntable, which I did a few months ago, but also to replace the archive's old Pioneer CLD-S304 Laserdisc player. And as of about 3 weeks ago now, I've finally done just that. So with that, today's episode is definitely going to be one of our less formal ones, yet at the same time one of our more tech jargon heavy ones. But yeah, we're going to do the full review, exploration, demo thing with the archive's new, to me, Laserdisc player. But I also want to tie up a few loose ends from the old Laserdiscs and Their Children archive episode from, I think, 4 years ago now. But of course, it wouldn't be a tech episode without a nice, long, rambling, personal storytime segment to kick things off. So, let's get to it. Back on episode 127, How I Spent My Summer, Volume 4, I spent a good chunk of that episode discussing how I somehow never noticed that my thrift store score Pioneer CLD S304 Laserdisc player from 1995 had an AC3 output, to run to an AC3 demodulator so I could properly play Dolby Digital encoded Laserdiscs. Once I made this little discovery, I found myself falling down a rabbit hole of attempts at maxing out the capabilities of that player, and largely just crashing headfirst into its limitations. The only thing I succeeded in doing was acquiring and using a Lexicon LDD1 AC3 demodulator to run to my home theater receiver. After that little drama, I set my sights on eventually upgrading my Laserdisc player. Here was my list of non-standard demands. An AC3 output for Dolby Digital discs, either a digital optical or separate non-AC3 digital coax audio output for DTS discs, an S-video output for when I do transfers, multiple video outputs for monitoring while I'm doing transfers, and freeze frame and multi-speed capability, even on CLV discs. And this list got slightly revised after making last year's LaserKaraoke episode. My reckless ways with Laserdiscs kinda caught up with me. When I do transfers, I usually did them on my Pioneer CLD V820 LaserKaraoke deck. Now, I have a long history of finding beaten and cracked discs for archive candidates, and if they don't look too dire, I'll still throw it in. The LaserKaraoke Volume 5 episode from 2017 featured cuts from one side of an all-country music disc, of which one layer was cracked all the way through. But given that the other layer was pristine, I worked with it anyway, which proceeded to knock the alignment of the laser itself out of whack. The cost of an alignment disc, or the shipping and labor costs of getting it repaired, were far greater than the value of the player itself, which I just wound up donating to a local thrift store. In short, this meant having to either look for a second or third player, or adding karaoke mic inputs to my list of demands. The only player that met all of my demands was the Pioneer CLD-D605, introduced in 1996. Otherwise, I was looking at either a Pioneer CLD-D704 or one of the higher-end latter-day Pioneer Elite units. all the while still wanting something karaoke capable for those particular archive episodes. Even though the CLD-D605 didn't have all the LaserKaraoke toys like Reverb, it had enough of them that once I found a decent price, I took the plunge. Okay, I admit it. My picking this model had absolutely nothing to do with features or specs. I only picked it because 605 just happens to be the area code for South Dakota, and I felt a slightly warped sense of duty to pick it up, and so I did. Or the deal was that, while I freely admit there are better Laserdisc players out there, there's only so much money in the archive's bank account, and there's those little idiosyncrasies like LaserKaraoke that I'd like to keep in the archive's arsenal. So now that I've got that off my chest, let me give a rundown on how this came to be. First up, you guessed it, this was a Fleabay-ism, and this was only the second occurrence of this particular model that I've seen since I've been here, about 3.5 months now. It was $90 plus a way overinflated UPS shipping rate. Second, the only two things I knew about this particular unit were that A, it was supposed to be in full working order, and B, it did not have the proper remote, only a generic Pioneer Laserdisc remote to go with it. And third, I had to Fleabay the proper remote for this at $30, and it was a little on the grimy side. So with that, when this unit arrived, I found a rather alarming 2-word note scribbled on the box, and given my spotty history with UPS, I figured I'd better do an on-camera unboxing and basic test. And I also wound up shooting a very brief clip of the proper remote once I got it cleaned up. And here are those segments. Alright, I don't normally do unboxings, but I'm going to make an exception this time because there was something a little alarming written on the box here. Yeah, I'll try and bring that closer. Good thing I have the autofocus on today. Power cord, question mark. It should be hardwired, and yeah, this is a Fleabay-ism. And it should be a hardwired power cord, so I'm hoping that's unrelated. So that's why I'm doing the unboxing. Anyway, let's dig in. Double box. Well, I guess there's the question mark power cord. Another power cord. That looks very similar to a remote I've already got. Well, there we are, and I guess I need to figure out which power cord is which. Alright, I'm going to put one of my good rare Laserdiscs on the line for this sucker. Let's see what we get. Well, that's helpful. All right, let's try the auto flip. A lot of jitter. I was afraid of that. All right, we are running. It's just that the opening frame sticks for a while. All right, there we go. All right. Let's pop it out, see if it scratched up my disc. Nothing in person, so definitely nothing on camera. Nope, I'm calling that a success. Alright, let's close it. Lovely.
Oh, jeez, what a day. Hey, we forgot to return the video we rented.
The technical quality of television production has improved significantly over the past few years, to the point where an artist can now communicate ideas without the system getting in the way. Accurately reproducing those ideas, allowing you to experience the intentions of the artist.
Okay, obviously I don't have anything playing right now, so you're just staring at the regular blue screen from the Laserdisc player. And I should note that none of the karaoke toys on this model work unless you have a mic plugged in. So you can't dink around with like the key, watching a movie or something, unless you got a mic plugged in. And I'm speaking to you right now, obviously, through the Laserdisc player, hence mostly mid-range here. And I'm using my usual Shure SM57 dynamic mic, same mic I use for everything in Archive Land. And I'm just going to fool around a bit here and let you see and hear everything in action. Now, there's only two things I can control without something playing, and those would be the volume and echo. And when I say echo, I mean like 60s psychedelic echo, not reverb. And let me turn that all the way up. It's real good if you want to do They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha. But I haven't found that one on a karaoke disc yet. Okay, turn that off. I'm at 2/3 volume right now. Let me go up all the way to the max. That's everything. And I'm right up against the mic. And then I'll go down to maybe 15%, if you can still hear me at all down there. But I think I'll park it at about 2/3. Hopefully that's about on par with the music on the disc. And yeah, I haven't embarrassed myself in a good while now, so no time like the present. And let's do a little Tony Orlando today. That should be more or less in my range. Already got it queued up. Hey girl, what you doing down there? Dancing alone every night while I live right above you. Well, I could kind of do that. Let's make it a little harder. Hear your music playing. I can hear your body swaying. Higher. And 1/4 below me, you don't even know me. I love you. Oh, let's just go kamikaze here. Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me. I can't do that without a falsetto. I don't think. Twice on the pipe? Nope. Not even close. I'm usually flat. Let's see how I do with a flat key. Means you'll meet me in the hallway. Whoa, twice on the pipe. Means you ain't gonna show. And I handle that better, I think. And then, of course, I can go down into full-on Johnny Cash territory. Or at least with the key. I can't hit those notes. With the note that's attached to my heart. Yeah, I sound more like Elvis on the toilet there. But whatever, I think you get the idea. While I'm still not in a position to demo some of the most esoteric Laserdisc isms, like Squeeze or Muse High Vision, I do want to round up 2 types of disc that I couldn't tackle back on the old Laserdiscs and Their Children episode. So first up will be the less interesting one, and that is a demo of the audio on a DTS encoded disc. Now, like the Dolby Digital test I ran earlier, the only way to demo a DTS soundtrack on a YouTube video is to cheat and use a feed from the headphone jack of an AV receiver. So like the Dolby test, what you're actually going to hear is my toggling between the analog and digital inputs on the receiver, not the Laserdisc player. Now, the other type of disc that I didn't cover at the time, and this was partially because it's ostensibly a different format, but I didn't cover it in large part because I was oblivious to any of those titles getting issued in North America. But I'm talking about the CDV or CD video format, not to be confused with VCDs, video CDs. But anyway, these things feature up to 5 minutes of uncompressed video and digital stereo audio, and up to 20 minutes of regular old CD audio. And these things can be played on almost any Laserdisc player made starting around 1988. These were introduced in 87 over in Europe. Now, prior to Tecmone's dedicated video on this sort of format. As far as I knew, in the NTSC video standard, these discs simply did not exist. Here in the NTSC countries, the whole CD video thing was largely just a cute way of saying that your Laserdisc has a digital audio soundtrack on it. And of course, a lot of late 80s, early 90s North American Laserdiscs have the CD video logo on them, but they're just normal old Laserdiscs, like this Buster Keaton one. Period. End of story. Now, for a little while, as it turned out, I'd say 88 to 90, there were a few CD video discs released in the NTSC standard. And as far as I know, these were all manufactured over in England. And that kind of scared me a bit because European Laserdiscs and CDVs don't exactly have the highest survival rate. But I am pleased to report that the rot levels on this Randy Newman CDV from about 1989, presumably to cash in on the song's use in the first Naked Gun movie, the rot levels are minimal. And you really have to consciously seek any flaws in the video and keep in mind the standards of the time as well. And the audio is pristine, and the regular CD audio tracks are just fine. And they also seem to be the same mastering as the parent album, Trouble in Paradise. But anyway, enough talking. Let's take a look and listen.
Rolling down Imperial Highway, the big nasty lady at my side. I love LA. We love it. I love LA.
I do have a few nitpicks with the CLD-D605. One, and the biggest nitpick, the multi-speed playback actually seems to be less versatile than it was on the 304. And I thought that was kind of weird given this is a newer and higher end model than that one. Two, it's just as noisy as the 304. You stick a disc in there and for the startup time and the first few minutes, it sounds like it's about to take off. It's no worse than the 304, but still. And three, the jitter on still frames, at least via composite, is no better than the 304. The only real good luck I've had with it is when I'm transferring and I'm using S-Video. But those are really just nitpicks because when it comes right down to it, as far as how well it plays, how good the audio is, how stable it is, It's easily the best Laserdisc player I've owned to date. Now, as for the old 304, I'm not getting rid of that one, but it's going to become more my, sacrificial unit now, more for the, shall we say, distressed discs in the collection. But anyway, that's it for today's archive. Join me next time when I'm asked by numerous viewers, why didn't you get a Laser Active or a Muse High Vision machine? Why are you such a cheapskate, Ben?
Hey girl, what you doing down there? Dancing alone every night while I live right above you. Oh my darling, knock 3 times on the ceiling, it won't me. Twice on the pipe means you ain't gonna show.
Once again, do not attempt to go beyond the consumer-accessible controls without engaging qualified help.